Welcome to the deep dive. We've pulled together a really interesting stack of sources for you today.
Yeah, it's quite a mix.
Everything from guides on, choosing shoes if you've got arthritis, to specific fitting advice straight from a shoemaker.
And tips from podiatrists, too. Plus, they look at pointy shoes and wide fits.
Exactly. So our mission today is basically to unpack all this material
Mm.
and figure out what's really most important when it comes down to finding the right shoes for you.
Whether you're dealing with specific foot issues or maybe just looking for dress shoes that aren't torture.
Right. Or just generally wanting to make sure your shoes are actually helping, support your body from the ground up.
We want to sort through it all and pull out those essential insights.
Okay, sounds good. Let's jump in. All right, so let's start with this kind of fundamental idea.
Yeah.
Why do your shoes actually matter so much more than maybe we think?
Well, it goes way beyond just, covering your feet.
Yeah, that's what I gathered.
Your feet are quite literally your foundation. Everything starts there.
How you stand, walk.
Exactly. How you stand, walk, move. And the shoes you choose, they directly influence how all the mechanical forces get distributed through your whole body.
And we're not just talking feet and ankles, are we?
No, absolutely not. It goes up the chain, knees, hips, your lower back.
Even your spine.
Even your spine, yeah. It's all connected. One of the podiatrists in the sources had this quote. It really stuck with me.
What was it?
They said something like, if you wear the wrong shoe for your foot or your biomechanics and you already have inflamed joints, it's like poking an angry bear.
Wow. Okay, that paints a picture.
It really does. It shows just how much harm bad shoes can do, especially if you're already dealing with something like arthritis.
Right.
Mobility is just so key, isn't it? And good shoes are fundamental to keeping you moving comfortably. Bad shoes can really hold you back.
Okay, so if that's the why, let's get into the how. What are some of the kind of universal principles for finding a good fit that came up in the sources?
Well, the first big thing, according to several sources, is really understanding your own foot shape.
Okay.
One guide talked about 3 common shapes. They mentioned them in an Asian context, but you see them everywhere. Egyptian toe.
That's where the big toe's longest?
Exactly. Big toe longest, others taper down. Then Greek toe, where the second toe actually sticks out further.
Oh.
And Roman toe, where the first 3 toes are pretty much the same length, often meaning a wider front of the foot.
And knowing that actually helps choose styles. That's surprising.
It can. Like someone with a Greek toe might find a slightly pointier shoe more comfortable because that longer second toe has space.
Whereas the Roman toe definitely needs more room up front, like a wider toe box.
Precisely. So knowing your shape gives you a starting point.
Yeah.
Then there's the practical stuff. Measuring your feet.
At home?
Yep, at home. Length and width. Do both feet maybe stand against a wall on paper. And always, always go with the size of the larger foot.
Because they're often not exactly the same.
Very often, yeah. And they mentioned a width over 9 centimeters is generally considered wide, might mean sizing up or looking for wide fits.
Okay, what about size conversions, like US to UK sizes? That always confuses me.
Yeah, one shoemaker gave a pretty clear rule of thumb.
Yeah.
Generally, go down 1 full size from US to UK.
So a US 10 is a UK 9.
Usually.
Yeah.
But there are exceptions. Some loafer styles built on shorter lasts or unlined shoes that stretch more,
Right.
or those really high-end hand-grade shoes, they might only need you to go down half a size. It depends on the specific shoe's construction.
That's really detailed.
Yes.
Good to know. And heel fit, what's normal there?
A little bit of slippage, especially when new in maybe loafers or similar styles, can be okay. It often settles as the shoe breaks in.
But not like a big gap where your heel licks right out.
Exactly. A big gap is a bad sign. And don't forget socks.
Ah, good point.
If you're buying boots or something for winter, try them on with the thicker socks you'll actually wear. Or maybe think about going up half a size.
Okay, let's dig into the specific features. What makes a shoe truly comfortable, especially drawing from those sources focused on, sensitive feet or just general comfort?
Right. Beyond just the basic size number, width is absolutely critical.
You mentioned wide fits earlier.
Yeah, and comfort-focused shoes often come in multiple widths, standard, wide, sometimes extra wide. They have to accommodate natural foot variations, but also things like swelling or foot deformities.
And wide fit isn't just a label, is it? One source said it actually means significantly more volume.
Exactly. Sometimes equivalent to going up like 3 sizes just in the front part of the shoe. That space is vital to prevent squeezing and pressure points.
Makes sense. What about materials?
Flexibility is key here. Look for soft leathers or stretchy textile materials, things that can kind of mold to your foot shape.
I saw mention of shoes with specific stretch panels for bunions.
Yes. Those are fantastic if you have bunions, provides relief right where you need it.
And cushioning, obviously. That seems like a no-brainer for comfort.
Absolutely vital. Good cushioning in both the insole, the bit your foot rests on, and the outsole, the bottom of the shoe, helps absorb shock and reduces stress on your joints.
And removable insoles came up as being really useful.
Yes, highly recommended. If you need to use your own custom orthotics, being able to take the shoe's insole out means you can put yours in without making the shoe too tight or losing that crucial internal volume.
Good tip. And the outsole itself.
Ideally lightweight, you don't want clunky shoes,
Yeah.
and non-slip for safety.
Support also got mentioned quite a bit.
Definitely. A firm heel counter, that's the stiff part around your heel, is important for keeping your ankle stable.
Okay.
Enclosures matter too. Laces or Velcro are great because they're adjustable. You can tighten or loosen them if your feet swell during the day, for example. Velcro is particularly good for adjusting volume easily.
What about heel height in general?
Well, the consensus was pretty clear. High, narrow heels are generally bad news. Too much pressure on the forefoot, plus they can tighten your Achilles tendon over time.
But a slight wedge heel got a thumbs up.
Yeah, a slight wedge was mentioned as potentially being good for venous return, which is interesting, but keep it low.
And if you have foot deformities, finding shoes that are easy to actually get on.
Oh, absolutely. Look for styles with a really large opening. It just makes life so much easier and less painful.
Right. Anything else inside the shoe?
Yes, the interior environment. A comfortable shoe needs a breathable lining to help manage moisture, keep your feet dry, and crucially, no protruding seams inside. Those can rub and cause irritation or even injury, especially on sensitive feet.
Okay, great features to look for. Let's try and apply these ideas to different types of shoes. The sources covered a lot, from sneakers to dress shoes.
Yeah, starting with casual and athletic shoes, there's an important distinction between stability and neutral shoes.
Okay, what's the difference there?
Stability shoes have features, often denser foam on the inside edge of the midsole or heel, designed to control overpronation. That's when your foot rolls inward too much.
So they help stop that excessive rolling.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which can be good for reducing strain on certain parts of the foot or ankle. But
There's a but.
there can be. Some evidence suggests that heavily controlling motion might potentially shift stress higher up, maybe to the knee. It's a trade-off.
So who are stability shoes best for?
Generally recommended for people who demonstrably overpronate. Neutral shoes, on the other hand, just focus on cushioning. They don't try to correct your gait pattern.
And those are better for?
People with a more neutral or normal pronation pattern, or often people who use their own custom orthotics because the orthotic provides the correction.
And you can figure out your pronation by looking at shoe wear patterns, right? Or getting checked at a running store.
Exactly, or store scans, yeah. Now, dress shoes. That's always the challenge, isn't it?
Especially for women, yeah.
The sources really hammer home the warnings about high, skinny heels. They strongly recommend broader heels, maybe platforms or wedges.
And keep the height reasonable.
Yes, max 1.5 to 2 inches was suggested. And always, always look for a toe box with enough room. No squash toes.
For men's dress shoes, what's key there?
Look for a relatively stiff sole. The shoe should really only bend where your foot naturally bends, at the ball of the foot.
Okay.
Avoid those really pointy styles that cram your toes together. And a feature called a shank, often steel or composite, built into the sole adds really valuable stability.
Got it. What about sandals? They often feel like they have zero support.
They often do. The advice is to look for styles with multiple straps you can adjust. And crucially, make sure there's a back strap around the heel,
Why is that so important?
because it stops your toes from having to constantly grip the sandal to keep it on your foot. That gripping action can lead to strain, pain, even things like hammer toes over time.
Ah, okay. And avoid straps that dig in.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Especially over bony areas or sensitive spots. Now, flip-flops, they're a category on their own.
Yeah, people love them or hate them.
They're definitely less stable, no question.
Yeah.
They can increase your risk of falling, so probably best for people with generally healthy feet and good balance.
But there was a surprising finding.
There was. One small study mentioned in a source suggested that counterintuitively, wearing flip-flops might actually reduce stress on the knees for people with knee osteoarthritis, kind of like being barefoot.
Wow, really? That's unexpected.
It is. But it's just one study,
Yeah.
and flip-flops still come with a list of potential downsides. They change how you walk.
Right.
They can contribute to things like tendinitis, pain in the ball of the foot, that's metatarsalgia, and even toe deformities. So proceed with caution.
Okay. And boots.
Boots generally give good ankle support if they fit snugly around the ankle. Look for chunkier heels or wedge soles, not completely flat ones. Soft materials are good. Adjustable closures like laces or buckles help get the fit right. That shank for stability is good here too.
Mm-hmm.
And a practical tip for anyone with arthritis in their hands. Look for pull-on or zippered boots. Maybe add zipper pulls. And definitely invest in a long-handled shoehorn. Makes life much easier.
Okay, moving beyond general shoe types, the sources also gave specific advice for certain conditions or activities.
Yes, for arthritis, it really circles back to those core principles we discussed.
Support, cushioning.
Exactly. Excellent support. Really good cushioning. A roomy toe box that's both wide and deep.
Walker bottoms.
Rocker bottom soles, yes, those can be great for reducing pressure on joints by promoting a smoother rolling motion as you walk. And appropriate motion control based on whether you overpronate or not.
Were any specific brands mentioned for arthritis?
Yeah, one source listed some common patient picks from a survey. Skechers, Clarks, SAS, Easy Spirit, and Vionic were named.
Good starting points for people looking. What about for older adults, or maybe people focusing on preventing falls or just needing shoes that are easy to put on?
Ease of use is huge there. Focus on shoes that are genuinely easy to get on and off.
Like those slip-on designs.
Exactly. Brands like Zeba, Kizik, Skechers have specific slip-ins lines designed for hands-free entry. Lightweight is also good. And flexible soles can actually help with balance by providing better ground feel. And again, plenty of toe room so toes can spread naturally for stability.
Okay. What if you have high arches? Sometimes called cavus foot. Do you need more arch support?
Actually, no. That's a common misconception. If you naturally have high arches, adding extra arch support in the shoe can often feel uncomfortable, like there's a lump under your foot.
So what should you look for?
The recommendation is generally for neutral shoes. Shoes that provide cushioning but don't have built-in features designed to push the arch up further.
Can you filter for those when shopping?
Often, yes. Many shoe websites let you filter by support type, like neutral or sometimes even high arch. Certain Brooks and New Balance models were given as examples.
What about if you're just starting out with walking or running for exercise?
Keep it simple initially. Look for lightweight neutral shoes. A modest low-drop heel is often suggested,
Low drop meaning?
meaning the heel isn't dramatically higher than the front of the shoe, maybe like an 8–10 millimeter difference. This can sometimes be a bit gentler on the knees when you're starting. These shoes typically weigh around 8–10 ounces, don't have aggressive arch support. Lots of brands make shoes like this: Saucony, New Balance, Nike, Reebok, Mizuno, Brooks. Many options. For more experienced runners, of course, the whole market just explodes. You've got minimalist shoes, zero-drop shoes.
Which have their own considerations, right? Maybe more stress on the Achilles or calves.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
And then you have the maximalist shoes like Hoka 1-1 with tons of cushioning. RunRepeat.com was mentioned as a good place for detailed reviews across all these types.
Hiking shoes obviously need durability. Pickleball came up too. What's needed there?
Yeah, pickleball involves a lot of side-to-side movement, so you need a flat, non-skid sole, flexibility, but also good lateral support to prevent rolling your ankle.
Lightweight too.
Lightweight, good ground feel for quick reactions, and again, plenty of toe room. Basically, many good tennis shoes fit the bill quite well.
And lastly, summer sandals, especially if you have heel pain.
If you suffer from things like plantar fasciitis, prioritize sandals that have some built-in arch support. Don't just go for completely flat ones.
But flat is okay if your feet are generally fine.
It's generally okay for healthy feet, yeah, but maybe ease into wearing them if you're used to more supportive shoes. There are specific brands known for making sandals with good arch support.
Okay, this is maybe a slight detour, but one source gave us a really interesting look from the other side, that the actual craft of making high-quality shoes.
Yeah, it was fascinating. It really underscores that making a truly great shoe is this blend of, art and precise engineering.
They talked about the last.
Yes, the last is like the heart of the shoe. It's the solid form, traditionally wood, but now often plastic, that the shoe is built around. It dictates the entire shape, the fit, the style.
And making a new last isn't quick.
Not at all. Developing a new last, getting all the curves and dimensions just right, can apparently take up to a year of refinement.
Wow, it really highlights the level of detail involved. It's not just a generic foot shape.
No, not for well-made shoes. They talked about specific measurements on the last instep height, waist girth, joint width, tread width. It's incredibly precise. And the construction methods matter too. They mentioned Goodyear welting.
What's the benefit of that?
It's a complex way to attach the sole. But the big advantage is durability and repairability. A Goodyear welted shoe can often be resoled multiple times, making it last much, much longer.
And it was interesting how manufacturers like the one mentioned develop a whole range of different lasts.
Exactly, to cater to different foot shapes. They recognize that some populations might tend to have narrower heels or maybe wider forefeet, and they design specific lasts to provide a better fit for those variations. It shows real consideration for anatomy.
So let's try and bring all this together. For you, our listener, listening to all this, what's the main takeaway message from these sources?
I think the biggest thing is that finding the right shoe isn't really about luck or just grabbing whatever looks good on the shelf. It's about being informed. It really comes down to, first, understanding your own feet. What's their shape?
Mm.
How wide are they? Do you have any specific conditions or needs?
Like arthritis or high arches, or maybe you pronate a certain way.
Exactly. And then it's about knowing how to match those personal needs to the actual features and construction of different shoes. Is it wide enough? Does it have the right cushioning? Is the support appropriate?
Right. It might feel like a lot to think about initially.
It might. But the sources really drive home that paying attention to comfort, getting the fit right, and choosing shoes with genuine support makes a massive difference.
Not just for your feet?
No, for your whole body.
Yeah.
Your comfort, your ability to stay active, your overall well-being. It takes a bit more effort when you're shopping, perhaps, but the payoff is huge.
So we've covered a lot of ground today. We went from why shoes are so fundamental to your body's mechanics, all the way through understanding foot shapes, navigating sizing pitfalls.
Yeah, looking at the key features of comfortable shoes, specific advice for different activities like running or pickleball, or conditions like arthritis.
And even got that glimpse into the actual craft and science behind making a well-fitting shoe.
Hopefully, armed with all these insights drawn from the sources, you can now approach shoe shopping with a much clearer idea of what you need to look for.
Whether it's finding that extra cushioning, the right width, the proper support for your activity, or understanding why some dress shoes feel better than others.
It puts you more in control of the process.
Absolutely. So here's a final thought to leave you with, something to maybe mull over.
Okay.
Think about just how much time you spend on your feet, how much you rely on them for literally everything you want and need to do each day.
A lot.
Given that constant demand, does investing a little more time and thought into the one thing that literally supports every single step you take, does that seem like a pretty worthwhile endeavor for your overall health and quality of life?